softly, feeling particularly freezing in the cold rain that was coming down outside. When he answered, I searched his face automatically. I didn't like what I saw. He was standing in the doorway wearing the same clothes from that morning. Dark t-shirt and jeans. His bronze hair was impossibly messy, sticking up in all directions, and looking a lot like he had spent the entire day running his fingers through it. But his eyes were what got me. They were just as despondent as before as he met my gaze. My stomach sank, knowing that his mood definitely had something to do with my actions the previous night. I wanted to ask him what I did and how I could make it better. But the look on his face made it clear that questions would only make things worse, so I stepped into the room silently, cold and wet. Once he closed the door, he reached up and pulled my hood off, letting my hair free. I turned quickly, needing the feeling of the best part of my day. Edward's kiss. He smiled at me as he leaned in, but it wasn't crooked. It was somber and sad and full of sorrow that I couldn't justify. My blood was pumping anxiously in anticipation of his intimacy as he took my bottom lip in between his. I responded quickly, tangling my fingers into his hair and pressing him closer. This kiss was different from our usual night kisses. It lacked his usual lust and urgency as he cradled my cheek lightly, caressing me softly. The whole kiss felt sad, and it nearly made my eyes water as he pulled away without even attempting to deepen the kiss. I dropped my arms and searched his face desperately. His green eyes were no longer intense, but hollow and dismal. I stood in front of him, trying not to let all my hurt and disappointment show through. The look in his eyes told me that he had some serious issues to work out. And there was nothing I could do but wait for him to come to terms with whatever it was he was feeling. And he was blocking me out while he was doing it. I quickly turned away, unloading his meal onto his bed, and fighting back the tears that were forcing their way through my eyelids. I sat on the sofa and watched him eat in complete silence. Edward never ate in silence. It was like he was in his own little bubble on the bed, never meeting my gaze, and looking off into the distance, as if something was there, but it wasn't. He didn't speak for the rest of the night. We went to bed as soon as he finished eating, since we were sorely lacking sleep from the previous night. As we slid under the covers and the light went out, he scooped me up gently, kissing my hair softly as I rested my head on his chest. His embrace was looser around my waist, and I squeezed him tighter, willing him to return it. But he didn't. It was almost like he didn't want to touch me. The thought made bile rise into my throat as I stroked his hair and hummed him to sleep, feeling utterly desperate for his real touch, while my cookies still held all of their previous meaning tenfold. The 4 days following Christmas were cold. Frosty wet breezes that teetered just barely above the required temperature for snow. Edward grew even more distant from me. I wish I could say it returned to the business-like relationship we shared pre-Phoenix, but it was much worse. The passionate kisses at the door became soft chase becks. He barely caressed me at all anymore. The look in his eyes never changed. It was always a hollow shade of green, hopeless and desolate. I'd sit on the couch and read, and watch, as he ate in silence. He stopped moaning and humming, simply eating the food as if it was merely sustenance, and nothing enjoyable. He was pulling away, and folding in on himself completely. I could see it in his eyes when he avoided my gaze. He was right in front of me, yet so far away. I asked him the second night what was wrong. His distance was killing me, but he just mumbled that he was fine, and managed a small smile for me. I wanted to jump on him, and shake him, and tell him how stupid he was being, and make him kiss me again like he meant it. But I barely restrained the urge. It was something he needed to deal with on his terms, and no rushing from me would make things any better. It was just a feeling I had when I looked into his eyes that night. A knowing that all of my efforts to break him out of it would only make things worse. So I took his rare kisses with a grace I didn't think myself capable of, and I kept my mouth firmly shut, refusing to open any more wounds than I already had. His grip on me at night was nearly laughable, barely resting his arm on my waist as he slept. I could feel the dreams pushing their way through, barely skimming the surface, and making me awaken in the morning with a familiar sense of dread. It was never a full-on dream, but impressions of them, working to fight their way into my sleep. I wanted him to crush me to him and keep him away. But instead I got distracted strokes and light kisses. It was as if the already dim flame he had in his soul before Christmas had died out completely. I was battling and fighting to hang on to him and remain patient. I'd spend my days alone in the house, feeling regret towards the whole Christmas gift fiasco. I knew it had something to do with it. As much as I tried to deny to myself that a gift such as love could result in such a reaction, I knew better. And I hated that I had to regret telling him. Alice kept asking me what was wrong, clearly interpreting my mood rather well. I blew her off and pushed her away, feeling frustrated. Frustrated that I couldn't even go to her for advice. Because she could never know about us if us even existed anymore. My hurt and disappointment was quickly growing into resentment. Each morning I had to wake up to my almost dreams in his almost embrace.
Edward's point of view. It was that first kiss on Christmas morning, on her cheek. I watched as she closed her eyes, drinking in my kiss reverently, as if it was something she lived and breathed for. And I tried harder than I ever had to feel it in that one moment. To just feel the love for her that I was desperately searching for. That she desperately deserved. But it wasn't there. I wanted to push her away, and hold her close, and ask her why she didn't fucking hate me. And she didn't. Her love for me was completely unconditional. It just made it all worse. I wanted it more than anything in the world. To just fucking feel that for her, and show it to her. But every time I opened the door, and looked at her, it just made me feel emptier, that I couldn't find it. That I couldn't fucking feel it. So I distanced myself from her the nights following. I tried to tell myself I was just protecting her from my darkness and shitty mood when she walked in the door those nights. But that was a lie. I hated myself more every second that she glanced at me with those sad and hurt eyes. I was still hurting her, because I couldn't feel it. I knew it by the names of her cookies, and the look in her eyes. I really was a poison. I stopped kissing her as completely as I used to, tried to hold back on my touch. I didn't do it because I wanted to. I did it because her love for me made me so goddamn bitter. The way her eyes brightened when I brushed her skin, or kissed her head. It just made me realize that I wasn't fucking capable. And it wasn't fair to her. After the first night, I couldn't even meet her gaze anymore. I'd just fucking look away, hiding from all the love and forgiveness in her patient, hurt stare. It ate away at my very core. Pecking off in small increments that grew into an ugly heap of complete fucking self-disgust. When she'd leave in the mornings, I'd stay in bed for most of the day. I suppose to some people it would look pretty fucking pitiful. But I was still searching for it. Searching for something that I was terrified I'd never find. And I'd spend the day locked up and trying to sort shit out in my head. I could feel friendship towards her, loyalty, caring and protectiveness, and endless amounts of adoration. I could even easily feel lust for her. But it was almost as if it was impossible for me to reach another level of emotion. Not just for her, but for anyone. And the more I thought about it, the shittier I felt. I should love Carlisle. He fucking saved me. He loved me as unconditionally as Bella did, and stood by me through all of the bullshit I put him through. He deserved my love just as much as my girl did. And even it wasn't there. After 4 fucking years, it still wasn't there. There was respect, and loyalty, and caring, and even little fucking admiration towards him too. But no love. It seemed so senseless to me that I couldn't feel it. I was a human after all. I had a heart and a soul. I just couldn't fucking feel them. I couldn't even find it in myself to be afraid to feel it, because the idea that I never would made me want it so much stronger. I felt like such a fucking freak. Empty and hollow. She wanted to help me and care for me. I could see it when she looked at me, but this was the one thing that she couldn't help me with. She couldn't show me hers. Because where love, or the lack thereof, was concerned, we weren't tit for tat. It was all on me because she could still feel it and